and guten Morgen zusammen. I welcome all of you to our event, AI Applications in Logistics in China and Germany, which is jointly brought to you by the German-Chinese Association for Artificial Intelligence, short GCAAI, ALUROUT, the Sino-German Logistics Alumni Network by Fraunhofer, and the China Network Baden-Württemberg. My name is Stefan Erfurt, and I'm Vice Chairman of the German-Chinese Association of Artificial Intelligence. One thing I have to mention up front, we are going to record this event, which you already got the information about in an email up front. So by joining the event, you consent to that, meaning that all the messages you might post in the chat might also be recorded. When talking about AI or artificial intelligence, many people might not directly think of logistics as the first application area. For all of you being here in this call, this might be different because otherwise you wouldn't be here. But there's also, besides a lot of interesting application areas, which we will get to know about from our three great speakers today, there's also a lot of value potential, as a study from McKinsey recently showed. So they actually McKinsey looked into which industries have a lot of impact potential, and transport and logistics is actually among those with the highest one. Leading to, like they say, in this industry, there might be a potential of around $1 trillion, which is quite high. But when one is looking not only at industries, but also at functions like marketing or HR, McKinsey combines the function of supply chain management and manufacturing, and that one accounts for like 1/3 of the overall potential in AI as they calculated. So more than $5 trillion. So that's already really a lot. And then looking at China and Germany being one of the leading export countries in the world, for them, logistics and supply chain management is really an important topic. So combining all these information, I think today's topic, AI applications in logistics in Germany and China, is of high relevance and has a lot of potential. So before we now have a look at the agenda, I would like to welcome Professor Dianjun Fang from the Tongji University in Shanghai, who can also look back at a long history with the Fraunhofer Institute in Germany. And he's currently in Shanghai with like some more people in the office of MECWI. And there are also a lot of people joining our event today. Dianjun, do you want to say some words and introduce some people in the room?
Yes. Good morning, everybody to Germany. We are here at MECWI in the office in Shanghai, and we are glad to have this hybrid conference together with you guys in Germany. And we have more than 20 experts now in the offline event here in the office of MECWI because of the limited infrastructure. But we have more participants online. So I wish the conference success.
Thank you very much, Dianjun. So now let's have a look at the agenda again. So we're actually going to start with a very brief intro to the organizing organizations. And after that, we'll have three presentations. The first one will be from Annike Möhrenhoff. Good morning, Annike, who is going to bring in the perspective of applied research from Fraunhofer. The second one will be from Magic Cheng from MECV, who will bring the perspective of one of the top Chinese AI unicorns and how they apply artificial intelligence in the context of logistics and supply chain management. And finally, there's Fabian Bock from the world's largest logistics company, Deutsche Post DHL Group, who will share how AI is transforming the logistics industry from the perspective of a company who is more than 500 years old. After that, you will have a joint discussion, which will be moderated jointly by Dian Jun and myself, where you'll also have the opportunity to ask questions. The questions can be posted in the chat, also during the talks, but probably we will only have the opportunity to answer 1 to 2 questions at the end of each talk, and all the remaining we will try to cover in the end during the joint discussion. I'm really looking forward to learn a lot about different perspectives AI and logistics can offer and how the different companies are contributing to those. So I'll start with a short intro to the China Network Baden-Württemberg. So the purpose of this network is to promote the German-Chinese mutual understanding, especially with the southwestern state of Baden-Württemberg, and they aim to achieve expansion of information in economy, trade, scientific, and also in cultural areas. And if you want to know more about this organization, you can visit their website at china-bw.net. Maybe someone can quickly share the page in the chat. Next one is the German-Chinese Association of Artificial Intelligence, where we boost the exchange of education, research, but also in the areas of industrial cooperation in the field of artificial intelligence between Germany and China. We do so by trying to put those to the spotlight who actually do the magic behind AI, so the engineers and data scientists, and enables us a collaboration between those and all people interested in this topic to gain further mutual understanding. So talking about mutual understanding, I think in these days, continuing this discussion also in such a high relevant topic of AI is very important, as also Nature mentions it, that we keep communicating in these days as well. And we do this kind of exchange in events like this one, but also our WeChat group where one can exchange with like-minded people. And today's event should actually be the start of a series of events where we look into applications of artificial intelligence across different industries or different topics in Germany and China. And if you want to find more information about us and how to get in contact with us, please visit our homepage at gcaai.org, and maybe someone can also post a link into the chat. And now I want to hand over to Matthias Parlings, who's the head of the Department of Supply Chain Development and Strategy at the Fraunhofer Institute for Material Flow and Logistics, who is going to present to you the ALUROUT Logistics Alumni Network.
Thank you, Stefan. Thanks for organizing this good event. Hello to Shanghai, Dianyun. Good to see you again. Nice to have such a group over there. Yeah, the ALUROUT network is funded by the German Ministry of Education and Science, and we have basically ALUROUTers. One is in Germany, in Dortmund, where we have our institute, and we have 3 more in China. One is in Shanghai, where Tianyun Fang is a professor at the Tongji University, and in Qingdao at the IFP, which is the Institute for bringing the idea of Fraunhofer to China. And in Beijing, we also have a ALUROUT touch point. And we want to establish a German-Chinese alumni network in the field of logistics and related topics. And of course, that's why we also cooperate with the GCAAI, because we have many good touch points with that. And we are building up a network of people, and I'm glad that we have so many people here in this online conference today. And just to give you an impression on the next slide, it is not a real slide, it's more a video of giving you an impression of what we do in this network. Maybe it's running, if not. Yeah, so it's just an overview of the network. So what we do there, it is the first Sino-German alumni network in logistics. We are cross-linking Chinese and German logisticians, so professional students. We have more than 200 logistics experts in our network. They are from science as well as business, industry, and it's all over the place. So we have experts, of course, in technology, but also in management stuff. We do events. We have done a lot of events at fairs, like in Shanghai, at the Logimat Shanghai, in Germany, at the Logimat, at the logistics conference. And now, of course, we're doing hybrid events and online events to get over that. And here you see the ALUROUTers. Now we have also one more in Beijing. And yeah, that's just an overview on the ALUROUT network, and of course, the team behind it. You see the team, an overview. Professor Fang is in the team, Professor Henke, our head of the institute, and my colleagues who are on vacation, Sanya and Philip today, and Julia is in the chat, so she will post later the link to our network, because on the next slide you see how you can get in touch with us. There's a newsletter where we bring up all the news, upcoming events. You can register on that by scanning the QR code on the right side. And pretty new is our LinkedIn group, the ALUROUT LinkedIn group, where we connect the experts, the ALUROUT network, the alumni in logistics. So you're happy to join the LinkedIn group, and of course, sign up for the newsletter. So let's keep in touch. There's a lot to do in logistics from a Sino-German perspective, and we can bring together experts from all fields. So thanks for joining this event, and thanks for organizing. And now I hand over to Stefan again.
Thanks, Matthias. And this brings me now to our first agenda point, where Annika is going to give us insights about applied research from Fraunhofer IML perspective. Maybe while I introduce yourself, you could already start sharing, Annika. So Annika is a research associate at the Fraunhofer Institute for Material Flow and Logistics at IML. And she works in the Department of Intralogistics and IT Planning, and holds also the role of AI advisor in the Silicon Economy project, which is supported by the German logistics industry. And she will present diverse opportunities for using AI in logistics based on practical examples from applied research at Fraunhofer IML, as well as infrastructure supporting this research. So Annika, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Stefan, and hello to everyone that has joined this conference. As Stefan has already said, I hold the role as AI advisor, and that means that I support a couple of projects at the Fraunhofer IML that work with AI currently, and so I have brought you some of the applications that we currently developed to show to you today. Let me first start with a little introduction into what the Fraunhofer Institute is and what the Fraunhofer Gesellschaft is, to give you a little bit of context. The Fraunhofer IML, Institute for Material Flow and Logistics, is one of over 70 institutes for applied research all over Germany, and all of these different institutes have different technical topics. The work that we do is partly funded by the German federal and state government, and partly funded by industry projects and industry partners that we do research with. At the Fraunhofer IML, we do have around 300 employees and 300 student assistants that currently work on all different kinds of research topics in the logistics industry. We do applied science and or applied research, and what that means is that sometimes we do initial research in the logistics industry or contract research for clients. We work with our clients on specific topics, and with clients, they can be companies of all sizes and from all different kinds of industries. And sometimes it also means that we develop innovative applications and products for the logistics industry. Before I show you the applications that we currently work on in the field of AI and logistics at the Fraunhofer IML, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what is considered artificial intelligence and what makes AI so relevant for the logistics industry. One of the very first definitions of artificial intelligence is from Alan Turing, and it's from the 1950s. He said that a computer would deserve to be called intelligence if it could deceive a human into believing that it was human. If you translate that to applications, it means that we would call an application intelligence if it performs a complex or intellectual activity that was previously only achievable by humans. And as you can see, he said this in the 1950s, so artificial intelligence is not a new research topic. It's been around for a while, but we see it currently become more and more reality through an area of artificial intelligence, which is called machine learning. And machine learning has done some very great advances in the past time. Through machine learning, we get to, or we transition from purely programmed systems to self-learning systems, to systems that can learn from experience and that more and more can do tasks that previously only humans were able to do. And this is happening in a lot of industries, but we find that the logistics industry is particularly suitable for applications of artificial intelligence. And that is mostly due to the three characteristics that I've listed here. In the logistics industry, we do have a lot of complex problems and a complex environment. If we think of all the different dependencies that we have in supply chains, and those are not only dependencies from within the companies, but also from outside the companies of the supply chain. Those could be the global trends that spread through the internet, or this could be weather, or this could be something like the coronavirus that nobody was able to predict. And artificial intelligence has the characteristic that it is able to map these complex issues and maps more complex issues than we were able to map before. So this is one of the characteristics that makes artificial intelligence suitable for the logistics industry. Another point is that there's a lot of data that is available currently, and there's more and more data that is being generated in the industry every day. And you can think of this as tracking data or sensors that are applied more and more in all different kinds of industries and on all different kinds of products. We see pallets being equipped with sensors. We see all of the transport means being equipped more and more with sensors, and there are cameras that are applied more and more and that can take pictures where information can be extracted and things like that. So we do have a lot of data in the industry, and that's really good since artificial intelligence requires a lot of data to map the complex issues that I mentioned before. And another point, or the last point is, and Stefan has mentioned this already also, is that the logistics industry has a high relevance for the economy. And this means that all of the potentials we are able to lift with artificial intelligence do have a particularly large lever in the logistics industry. So for all of these reasons, we also at the Fraunhofer IML look for applications of this technology, and today I have brought you, slide changes, 6 of these applications from 3 different areas, and I've marked the areas in different colors here. All of the applications you can see on the left side that are marked in green are applications from the field of image recognition. There are 2 applications from the field of time series analysis, and then the very last one I brought you from the robotics topic. And I'm currently seeing that I did not check my time when I started the presentation, so please let me know if I'm running out of time, and we'll see how far we can get with all of these different applications, how many I can really show you. So the very first one is called Intelligent Indoor Localization. And with this application, we have developed a way of localizing, for example, in this case, a forklift inside a warehouse or inside the hall that it is operating in. And this works through a camera that is mounted on top of the forklift, and it takes pictures of the ceiling, and it can, through machine learning, identify different specifics at the ceiling. For example, it can identify if there are windows in the ceiling or if there are pipes running on the ceiling, and through the image recognition, it can then localize itself in the entire hall. And yeah, this is an application that colleagues of mine are currently working on, and they're still figuring out a way to make this ready to be used in industry, but it's already working quite well. The next application that I've brought to you from the area of image recognition is a project we call Identification Service based on natural features. And what this does is that it takes pictures of a pallet block, and this could happen at any point in the system where you would usually identify a pallet through a barcode or an RFID transponder or some kind of identification tag that is applied to the pallet. And with this application, we're looking to use the natural features of the pallet blocks. So, for example, in this case that you can see here, the grain of the pallet blocks to use as identification tags for the pallet. And it works by taking pictures of the pallet and then applying 2 neural networks. The very first one detects the pallet block in the picture, and the second one generates a signature for the pallet block, and this signature then is compared to the signature of the next identification point. So when the pallet enters the system, this is the first time we generate a signature, and at the second point of identification, the signature is generated again and then compared to all the signatures that have been stored in the system to see if this pallet has been known before. And this is a way that we are currently working on trying to identify pallets based on their natural features. And the last application from the area of image recognition that I brought you is the identifying and counting of load carriers. So this is something that we see happening a lot in the logistics industry, is that there are exchange accounts for load carriers. In this case, for example, these plastic boxes. And in order to hold the accounts for the plastic boxes in order. Once you receive them, you will have to count them and book them into your account or out of your account if you're shipping them. And this takes a lot of time. And so we have developed an app that is able to identify the plastic boxes in the picture and is also able to count them based on object detection algorithms that run locally on the smartphone. The information then can be transferred into the exchange accounts. Another example that I've brought you is the AI-based estimation of time of arrival. And this is the first example of time series analysis. This is an application that has been developed by colleagues, and it's a learning system that determines reliable arrival times using AI applications, and they incorporate weather and traffic data to find a good estimate of the time of arrival. And it's an open source service that is currently developed in our big research project called Silicon Economy. And it's supposed to go open source in the very near future. There's partners that have been working with us on this application from Fraunhofer IML, Fraunhofer ISST, and also the TU Dortmund University. One example that is now more human-centered, let me put it that way, is the dynamic break time using stress detection and prognosis. And this is a project that uses the vital data from people that are working, for example, on the shop floor, and it measures the vital data through a wearable. In this case, on this picture here, you can see an Empathica, but we are currently working on the hardware ourselves. So there's also a wearable that has been being developed by the Fraunhofer IML currently. And through this wearable, we can measure the vital data of the people working. And through this vital data, we're prognosticating or forecasting the stress levels. And with this forecast, we are suggesting break times for the people, and those will be aligned with the business processes and workloads. So it's supposed to make work less stressful for the employees, and make also go in line with the business processes and workloads, so that it's not happening that if there's a stressful situation and there is a lot of work to be done, that this work still can be done, but maybe take a break before or take a break after in order to hold the stress levels on a good level. So for the last application, I have brought you here something from the robotics industry, and this is a project that we've been working on with the Westphalia University of Applied Science, the TU German University, and the Fraunhofer IML. And this is a project that has been working on mobile robot navigation indoors. It's a robot that learned to self-navigate in an unknown environment. And it has learned this in a simulation, and you can see the simulation here in this picture. It's a simulation that can run simultaneously in different instances, and through reinforcement learning, the robot learns to use the data it gets from a 2D laser scanner and an RGB camera. And it learns to navigate through unknown environments to get from point A to point B without knowing what the environment is like. And I have brought you also a video of one of the, we're looking to apply this to swarms, like for example, the load runner swarm, which is a application, or which is a hardware that has been developed at the Fraunhofer IML and has currently been developed with Kion also. And let me show you what this would look like. This is the swarm of vehicles for the package industry. And it's designed to be really fast and to be able to sort packages really quickly. And this could be one of the very first industry applications that we can apply the indoor navigation to. This video shows a little bit of what the load runner swarm is capable of to do cooperative tasks like transporting things that are bigger than a package. And it can also transport multiple items with modules that it can pull. Okay, let me ask you real quick, how much time do I have left? I have brought you one more video from which shows a little bit of the research infrastructure that we have at the Fraunhofer IML, and that helps us in developing AI applications.
So there are 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so this is the one of the test beds. That this one shows the one that we have at the TU Dortmund University, but we do have a really similar one now at the Fraunhofer IML. It shows that this is a big research hall which has different technologies implemented, and one of them is a motion capturing system that helps us to find a ground truth. In, for example, if we're working on tracking applications through artificial intelligence, we would always need a ground truth of what we can train that we can train our networks with. And the motion capturing system here helps us do this. Those halls are also equipped with laser systems that help us to bring information from the virtual world into the physical world. So the laser systems, you can see them here in the ceiling. They can project information onto the ground, and through the motion capturing system and the laser system, we have a really close connection of the physical world and the virtual world, and this really helps us in developing all of these different kinds of applications. Thank you very much. In case there are any questions that came up during this talk, I'm happy to answer them now.
So thank you a lot, Annika. I think this gave us a perspective of how wide the range of potential application areas is. There are actually 3 questions in the chat.Maybe you can answer one of them and the other 2 afterwards in the chat. So the first one is about whether you're aware of Libya Robotics from China, who have potentially have a similar approach to what you showed with this cooperative robots you showed earlier.
Okay. No, I'm actually not aware of that, and I'd be happy to look into that. What's the name again?
Libiao, it's posted there. Maybe Chanfang, you can also post a link, and maybe if this would be already the first follow-up cooperation, that would be really awesome.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. And maybe Annika, again, thank you very much. You can answer maybe the 2 other questions in the chat, or maybe then also in the end when we have the joint discussion.
Okay, perfect.
So after looking at applied research in Germany, now let's move to an AI company in China. And Yanjun,
Yeah.
Please introduce.
Yeah, thank you, Stefan. Now we are come to our offline event, and we are here at McVie. The McVie is the leading company for artificial intelligence in China, and they are now focusing on the logistics. And we are glad we have invited Magic Chen, the Vice President of McVie. He's a real expert in the field of logistics. He has worked for many, many years in the field logistic technologies, especially for the system integration. And now he's working for McVie and try to use AI for logistics. Now, Magic, you are on the stage.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Hello, Mani. Thank you, Annika. And now I will start my speech. Okay. And first, I would like to introduce a little bit of McVie. Okay, McVie is a leading AI company in China, and this is our image.
When I was 5 years old, there was a long period I couldn't sleep.
This gentleman, our founder, Mr. Lin.
I had so many questions. I've spent my life searching for answers. The world can be chaotic and complex, but it doesn't have to be. I believe artificial intelligence can make our lives simpler, easier, better.
McVie is a pioneer in developing artificial intelligence technology with a core competency in deep learning. Since 2011, we have been building the AI infrastructure to connect and empower tens of billions of IoT devices. We began by addressing personal IoT, using our technology to make everyday life a little bit brighter, easier, and more secure.
We hope we use our
Highly accurate facial recognition verifies identities quickly with simple motions. Our computational photography solutions allow smartphones to rival the photo quality of professional cameras.
Yeah, AI technology is also used in smartphones as an
Subjects look their best, even in low-light environments. Our city IoT solutions empower cities with eyes and brains, integrating our technology with existing hardware. Our smart traffic management helps reduce traffic jams, cutting down commuting times across entire cities. Parents can rest assured that their children are safe and well.
And also can be used.
Secure access can be seamless. As McVie continues to evolve, we are now helping businesses evolve, automating, streamlining, and optimizing warehouses and retail operations. Our solutions improve efficiency throughout the supply chain.
And we also apply robotics.
Everything we do is powered by AI. We are one of the very few companies in the world to have developed a proprietary deep learning framework. We call it Brain++. It's the underlying architecture on which all our solutions are built. Brain++ sets us apart, a veritable algorithm factory. It's the super brain that powers the platform that will connect the entire IoT ecosystem.
We're not there yet, but every day we are getting closer. Every day, our world-class engineers conceive and develop new ways to bring AI to the service of people and the businesses. Together, we are seeking to create solutions to work for a better world, to improve our lives with safety, efficiency, and beauty, to simplify.
McVie, powering humanity.
Okay, this is our growing path. We are growing together with the AI. And McAfee was founded in 2011 in Beijing. And 2 years later, in 2013, the AI cloud platform, we call it the Face++, was launched. And in 2015, the Face ID, the first online identity verification platform in the world, was launched. And later in November, it is the city IoT and the solution was launched. And then 4 years later, in 2019, January, the HER2, the very intelligent robot operating platform was launched. Now we're the logistics industry leader, almost 10 years, and we have around 3,000 employees, 4 institutes, and around 1,900 AI patents. And we also write 33 AI standards. And our business covers more than 30 countries already in the world. And for Brain++, and it is the world-leading deep learning framework. And there are very few companies in the world that have such kind of technology, such as Google and Amazon, Microsoft, and Huawei. Okay, and we think AI plus ML plus ASIS is a trend of the intralogistics. And for ASIS, everyone is very familiar with it. It's already more than 50 years of history. And with the aid of AI and with the aid of AML, and it will create more and more results for the traditional warehouses. Okay, we have a very typical reference in a chemical industry. This is a chemical factory. This is a very funny system. And before we involve in this project, the customer they plan to have the conveyors to link their packaging line with their ASIS. This land 5 hours of ASIS, totally around 3,000 total. But when we involve, when we make this model, we simplify their solution, and we use 8 AMRs to replace their conveyors. And after the packing line, the shuttle car transport the goods is the QA station. And then our AMR and transport in front of the ASIS. And after that, our AI, we call it the AI factory, pick it up and put it on the rack. Totally, there are only 8 AMRs to replace around 100 airlines. And a lot of space released, we can find there is no stationary equipment. And the process is very, very simple. And after the AMR transport one finished goods and it will take a 4 pallet stack or a package material back to the production line.
Matrix, is Stefan speaking. Could you maybe try to speak closer to the mic? Otherwise the audio is a little difficult to understand. Thank you.
Okay. Not clear, right? Is it better now? Hello, Stefan.
Yes, better.
Good. Thank you. And this is the packaging material back to the packing line. And also for the pick packaging, it is also very simple. The AMR transports the finished goods. They transport one to the dispatch area. And for the dispatch area, if we need to change dispatch pallet, the robot will pick the back from the pallet, the other pallet. And also, it will meanwhile stack the other bag on top of it. And then here, the AI technology also they should stand very stable. And after that, the pallet is packed, then dispatched. And this is a very, very successful AI plus AMR plus ASIS in China. And after this project, they will plan 4 projects in the future. Okay, let us show some applications. And for this one, we call it pattern recognition equipment. And it is used in the goods receiving process. And usually for the goods receiving, there are a lot of workload, and usually it is done by human. And with this kind of equipment, as long as the goods is put on the conveyor, and we install some cameras in the receiving area, and the goods will go across a place, and all the information will be connected, like the SKU information, like the quantities, like the text information. And after that, there is a label printer will print a barcode on top of it, and then the carton is transported to palletizing position. It will be palletized by a robot arm. And this one we call it double check equipment, and it is used in order fulfillment center. And in distribution centers, a lot of orders is processed, and every time the picked order should be double checked, and usually it's done by human now. And with the AI technology, we install some cameras there, and the camera can identify the SKU information to identify whether it is right or not, and also the quantity information and text information. And now we are trying to use it in pharmaceutical industry. And the last one is we call it the tire recognition equipment. It can recognize the code of the tire, the brand, the threading pattern, and also specifications. And this is one is for a visual detection for daily defects. And sometimes there is black points, and currently it's done by humans and by eyes. It is very harmful to eyes. And now we are trying to use AI technology. We install cameras there to detect whether the item has black points or bugs or hair and bubble. And this one is for staff safety management. When our operators entering the warehouse, we need them to sometimes protect the helmet or safety clothes, and we can realize that only by a camera. Embed the AI technology, we can, if they didn't do that, we can warn it. And this one is for quantity counting. For some small parts, we can count the number on the build conveyor by a camera system, by a visual system. And this one is applied at scale. AMR, and if the temperature can be.
Magic?
Hello.
Could you, while the video is displaying, it's always very hard to explain, so we couldn't hear from the beginning. So we saw the video, maybe you could start the explanation what you already described during the video.
Mm-hmm. You didn't understand the video or the words?
The word.
The words.
Yeah. I can't say the word. Yeah.
Okay. Problem. Okay. For this one, it is used in a steel factory. But when some key parts in the steel factory, the temperature of the key parts should be monitored every half hour or every hour. And in the past, it is done by operator, by human. But the environmental temperature is already very high. It's around 60 centigrade. Then we use a AMR and install a camera on top of it. And the camera can detect the temperature for the key parts by taking photos. And this is our AI technology, and the AMR can move. They can move from this point to the other point, to the point it is required to record the temperature. So, Stephen, do you understand this part now?
Yes, fully understand now. Yeah.
Okay,
now the voice, while the video is not playing, the voice is very good. Just when the video is playing in parallel, it's hard to understand you.
And for this kind of technology, and in the very beginning, we used it to detect the temperature of people. And you know, now the pandemic period, and maybe also use this kind of technology to detect the temperature of people. And then we move this idea to industry. We move this kind of idea to detect some key parts in the manufacturing processes. And then it's at last is a video, a very
是拥有规模全球领先的计算机视觉研究院。旷视打造出业界领先的人工智能物流装备与机器人操作系统。
Okay, this is for the
依托遍布全球的10多个分支机构，在服装行业，旷视为日本最大的服装企业，在中国上海建设全球最柔性的智能仓储物流中心，利用旷视河图的数字孪生技术，在4万平方米的仓库同时协同4000多台物流装备高效运营，支持客户位于华东地区的200多家门店业务。旷视还借助全系机器视觉产品与解决方案，打造了智慧物流园区解决方案，实现园区内无死角、无盲区的实时监控。对可疑人员、车辆进行实时预警，让整体园区运营更安全。车辆到达园区入口，园区管理系统会对车辆及人员进行信息数据采集、分析和统计，并为车辆规划园内最优行驶路线。当货物抵达仓库，便纳入旷视河图的监管范围。旷视河图拥有同构仿真功能，使物理与虚拟世界的边界互通，可实时预知预判仓储效率。基于 AI 算法，旷视河图精准调度库内所有物流设备与系统，大幅提升吞吐效率，运营状态一目了然。在入库环节，利用 AI 视觉技术，商品自动入库井然有序。机械臂利用视觉技术，高效完成入库前的码垛任务。
After palletizing, the pallet
在入库前，视觉系统对货品的舵形、破损及轨道运行情况进行全方位监测。
Correct or not? If the profile is not okay, and it will be transported to a manual station.
如有异常，控制系统当即指示现场人员对货品进行处理。
The quantity is not right, and it will be transported to a manual station. And if it is okay, it will be transported to the
货品检测合格后，将由人工智能堆垛机进行有序存储。同时，视觉系统将对库位箱数进行盘点。
Count the number of the pallets immediately with the cameras.
自动化立体仓库，
And the whole
整体3D 监控系统，实现库内360度全景展示。目前，由旷视打造的全球第1台具备舵形识别、异物检测、智能盘点功能的人工智能堆垛机，已成功商用于浙江绍兴的黑灯工厂智能仓，大大避免了事故的发生。作业高峰时， 河图会自动全盘统筹，启用柔性方案、协同电梯等楼宇系统，启用移动机器人 AMR 规划最优作业路线，缓解业务高峰，并智能调度库内 AMR， 实时货到人拣选。基于机器视觉与机器人控制算法，旷视研发出多款智能机器人产品。T800 型号拥有目前业界800公斤以下最薄机身。T1000型正常工作时间长达12个小时，续航业界领先。基于 SLAM 与视觉技术的 S800 系列机器人，识别精度低至3厘米，可轻松区分人体和物体。目前此类产品已应用于国内光伏行业最大 SLAM 机器人集群项目中。货品经拆零、拣选、输送至智能圆形播种机，自动分拣。
And after picking, it's sorting. And with here it is also applied the visual system to identify the orders, the items.
通过强大的视觉识别、定位、相位匹配功能，可实现99.99%播种准确率。
After the sorting, the order is packed and shipped.
经无人叉车传送上架。
And we also use the visual system is the unmanned forklift, and it can detect people.
在旷视河图的管控下，传统仓储逐步演进为智慧仓储，智能化的运营运维平台，使货品出入全流程端到端，可视、可管、可控。
Okay, that's all for my speech. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you. So, Stefan, you already got some questions from the chat?
There's no from the chat as of now, but I actually have one. The last video was very impressive, and it looked almost like there's almost no person working anymore in the warehouse. Are there still? Or is it just robots interacting with each other?
Okay, and some process is already achieved. Like I showed the second video, there are already only 2 workers in the warehouse. And I think 80% is achieved.
Okay, and probably still.
Yeah.
Continue, sorry. So thank you very much. That sounds impressive that 80% of manual labor is not required anymore. Very exciting. From a safety perspective, very positive. We have to see what the workers are going to do in the future. Now, thank you very much, Magic. Fabian can maybe already start sharing his slides while I'm going to introduce him. Fabian is actually a senior data scientist at the Data Analytics Center of Excellence at Deutsche Post DHL Group, where he not only has a lot of experience as a data scientist, but also he has been product owner of one of the AI products he's going to present today in the past. Before joining DHL, Fabian gained a PhD in geoinformatics and worked for several years at Bosch. So now it's up to you, Fabian.
Thank you, Stefan, for the kind introduction, and welcome all, and thank you for having me here. What I want to share with you is our view on data science as a core part of AI, where we look mainly at machine learning and operations research. And in the following, I want to first introduce our company before then going into some of the details how we see data science, data analytics there. First, introducing Deutsche Post DHL as the world's leading logistics company. We have colleagues all around the world with more than 500,000 colleagues, with a focus in Europe, but also having colleagues basically in every country in the world. Just to give you an impression of the size and also the data we are handling with in our team, we have in Germany more than 50 million letters per day and around 5 million parcels. This is the part Deutsche Post, so focusing in Germany, while DHL is operating worldwide. So we have another division, the Express division, where we ship shipments very fast around the world, roughly 1 million per day. In the global forwarding business, we have around 2 million tons of air freight per year. We have around 3 million containers of ocean freight per year. And finally, in the contract logistics, we have more than 13 million square meters of warehouse space we are working on. These numbers give you an impression of how diverse, how international our business is, and also with what data we are working every day. In the following, I'd like to highlight 3 main parts. First, I'd like to explain what is the role of data science in our company. Before I'm going also to share some of the success factors that helped us to grow this topic within the company. Before I then will show you several of our use cases we develop for our group. When you here look at the middle of this graph, there you're seeing the divisions in our company with Post and Parcel Express, similar to the numbers I showed you before. All of these divisions are under the head of the corporate center with finance, HR, and the CEO departments. And we as data analytics team are one of the center of excellences directly located in this CEO department. Showing you a bit more about the center of excellences. These center of excellences are in the role to steer the collaboration among these divisions. There are a lot of applications or use cases that are important for several of these divisions. And that's why it's also important to standardize and also accelerate the implementation of use cases across the group. I mentioned already our data analytics team, which is in the role of building and supporting scalable solutions in the field of AI, machine learning, and optimization, so also operations research. We also have colleagues working on building the data lake, which is the core tool set for us as data scientists. They provide us the platform where we can build and run our advanced analytics and big data solutions. We have the blockchain COE, where colleagues built the multi-industry blockchain platform with several use cases. Important for us, it's also the topic of APIs. You can imagine there are a lot of customers requesting every day the status of their shipment. So the API COE is focusing on having harmonized and standardized APIs for customer-facing APIs. And finally, the COE for the Internet of Things works on cross-divisional and scalable solutions in the field of asset tracking, shipment tracking, and condition monitoring. For example, measuring the temperature of the shipment where this is important. Focusing now on the data analytics or data science part, I'd like to emphasize the role of analytics in our company. Starting with the bottom part of the slide, this is highlighting the key principles of our group strategy. We want to be the investment of choice, provider of choice, and employer of choice. And as a key part there, we see data analytics, because when you look at the numbers, we have staff costs of more than 20 billion euros per year. We have transportation costs of more than 20 billion euros per year. Then you can imagine if we can just improve processes by a few percentage points, then we can save a lot of money already. So that's why the company has decided that advanced analytics is a core part of our group digitalization strategy, where on the one side, there is a strong investment of 2 billion euros within the next 5 years. On the other side, also there is a high expectation that also analytics and digitalization in general provides a clear benefit in the future. Regarding the success factors for the data science growth in our company, I'd like to highlight 3 main topics that are key as of our understanding. First is that for our activities and projects, we need the management support and the analytics governance. We need the right people, we need the right data science skills, and also the right data culture across the company. And finally, we also need to use the right technology, and we need to be able to have efficient IT implementation to deploy as many use cases as possible. I'd like to go into the details of all of these 3 pillars shortly only. Regarding the governance, it is important to mention that there is not only our data analytics center of excellence, what I described to you before is in the corporate center, but we also have colleagues, data scientists in all of the divisions. And we work together in a so-called hub and spokes approach, where we in the corporate center are the hub, steering the activities, supporting the spokes in the divisions on their activities, while it's also important to have the data scientists in the divisions who know better the data of the divisions, who are closer to the business operations. Also, we have established the so-called Analytics Steering Board, which is hosted by our group CEO. In this steering board, we have representatives of each of the spokes, so of each of the central functions and divisions. And each division has an own roadmap of use cases, and in the steering board, cross-BU topics or also finding synergies between the use cases in the divisions can be found there. When we talk about skills and talents, we recruit data science colleagues all around the world, and we as a data center of excellence, we support the teams and divisions in finding the appropriate candidates. And in data science, it's also important to have diversity in the team, having colleagues with different backgrounds, for example, regarding the education background coming from computer science, from mathematics, and also from natural sciences. This is key to work together and come up with creative solutions. When having the right people in the company, it is also important to focus on the training. If you look at this pyramid starting at the bottom, we want to have all colleagues to be aware of what data science is and why it is important to focus on data. So this is an e-learning, meaning it's 45 minutes interactive training for everybody in the company who has contact to data. In addition, we have management training, which is taking 8 hours, where managers get better to understand how a data science project can be run, how they can support data science activities. This is currently rolled out to more than 1,000 managers in our company. And finally, we also focus on expert trainings for our data scientists and data analysts. Coming to the technology, we think it is best to have a hybrid infrastructure to realize our use cases. In some cases, it is better to have them on-premise, for example, if we work with very sensitive data, but often it is also better to use cloud environments, for example, if you want to scale very quickly. So here, the key is that we have this hybrid infrastructure with a seamless integration of both worlds. One of the key parts there, the data lake I mentioned before already, which is the platform we use as a data science together with the machine learning platform called Kubeflow, which makes us data scientists' life easier. It enables us to build quickly scalable solutions. And finally, we want to make use of automated machine learning with Data Robot, where we want to become faster in building first models as data scientists to use as a baseline, but also for colleagues who don't want to write a lot of code, but want to have a first model straight away. Finally, coming to the use cases we have in our group. In total, we have more than 100 data scientists worldwide working on more than 100 use cases in the areas of prediction and forecasting, but also in the field of optimization, like routing, and also some other topics. I'd like to highlight a few of them in the following. Here, I want to focus on those topics that are relevant for all of our divisions. First is on the left, the prediction of volumes. You can imagine it is important to know how many letters are going to be shipped next week, how many parcels will be there at our hubs the next days. So here it is very important to have a precise planning, precise prediction so that we can have an efficient planning and also efficient asset utilization. One step further is then to use that data to have an intelligent staff scheduling. That means the shift planning can be optimized, and also we can do a long-term resource planning when we know the demand already well ahead. Also, you can imagine having a lot of airplanes and trucks, routing and optimizing the routes is essential when you think about what you can do with AI in a logistics company. So there we have several use cases in all of the divisions where we optimize and try to save kilometers, try to save money by finding optimal solutions. Finally, I'd like to highlight 3 of our data services that are only possible by using our internal data assets. These are built on internal data for all of our divisions, as these questions come up for all of them. First is the topic of geocoding. You can think of a courier needs to know where a shipment needs to go, and also the routing optimization needs to know an exact place for an address that is given on a parcel. So our geocoding solution uses internal data to provide a solution giving you the longitude and latitude of the delivery location, similar like what Google does, but we use our internal data, which helps us in many cases to be better even than Google. Another use case is about product classification for customs. There we want to support the customs operations by automatically classifying products, because depending on what type of product it is, the customs process is different, and different tax need to be paid for the product. And with this automated approach, we can facilitate this process. Finally, in our finance department, we have the use case of so-called invoice overdue risk. There, the idea is that when we can predict already which customer is likely to pay late, we can remind them, we can already consider them in our planning so that we have an improved cash flow in our company. With that, I'd like to close the presentation, and I'm happy to discuss your questions.
Thank you very much, Fabian. As of now, there's now a question in the chat. Maybe this one, there are more coming in the next minutes. As I have been a colleague of you beforehand, I personally don't have a question directly because I'm aware of most of the stuff you've been doing there. So then let's maybe start to the joint discussion with all the speakers now. Maybe I start with a short question to all of you before we also have a look at the questions from the chat. So Annike, looking at the presentations from Magic and Fabian, which have been like the highlight or surprising facts you found there today?
You saw that I was still muted. Yeah. I was surprised by the fact that you also mentioned in one of your questions that there are warehouses where there's barely any humans that are still working there, and everything is really automated, and all of the different systems work together, as we saw in the presentation given by MacV. I really liked the autonomous mobile robots that you showed, and the robot slam. Those were the ones that really catched me.
Thanks. What's the impression in Shanghai? What have been the highlights there from the other talks?
Hi, I'm interested with Fabian's data scientist. I am wondering how much the result does the data science create for DHL each year? So we want to have an image. How much does the result they can create each year? RPA.
Sorry, I only got half of the question. So how much is the result we can?
The value, the results.
The revenue. The revenue was your data science already can create value or to earn money, or is it just now do scientific works at the moment? So it's very impressive. Over 100 data scientists. So Magic Chen is very interested in the data, and is there already really creation of value in you can say money in your company?
Yeah, maybe it's very difficult to answer this question.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, indeed, for us the focus is also to bring our use cases early in production, not having a long experimentation or research phase, but also focusing on bringing them into production and then consider improving them. So a lot of our use cases are already in production, are creating value for our colleagues, also facilitating new products. And so I cannot tell you the numbers, how much money we save, but there are already a lot of savings there. And we are now in the phase of seeing already these improvements. And now we want to make it faster in having more new use cases live and be used.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
So Fabian, I want to know whether you can do really you have some market for data exchange, or you can sell your data, or you have a data lake and a big data. And I think this data maybe are interesting for other companies. Will you sell them for money, or is still your just the data for your internal use?
Yeah, of course, data has large value, and also this is an important asset for us. And that's why it is difficult to sell data. Also, when you need to consider data privacy, also when we have some personal data involved. So that's why we are very conservative in selling data, and there is no platform where we sell the data.
Maybe the question from the chat who just came fits in this context, whether GDPR or data protection in general has an impact on AI. So maybe Fabian, you could start with it again, and then but also Annike and Magic can answer this from different perspectives.
So for us, it has a very high relevance, and for us, it's important for every use case that we check up front whether we are following the law and whether this use case is realizable according to the laws. And only if we get green light by our lawyers, then we proceed with the use case, collect the data. And also the Workers' Council is involved that they agree with working on that data. So for us, it has a very high priority.
Yeah, from our side, I can say the same thing. And for us, working with data usually means that we work with third-party data since we are working with clients. So this also has impacts for us. And there are always some hurdles that we have to take in order to get data and in order to protect the data that we get from our clients to work with in applications. So yeah, the topic of data and data protection is really relevant for us as well.
How is the situation in China?
So the question to our
I think for data, we touch a lot of data for maybe because our main business is to do the face identification, and we really process a lot of data, but we don't store the data because the data they don't belong to us, don't belong to Megabit, and we never store it. We just process it. And a lot of apps in mobile phone, in smartphones, already use the technology of Megabit, and we don't store it.
Okay. So it's a big topic about data protection, also for the use of the data, especially cross-border data transfer. So the question to Fabian, especially DHL, is an international company. You have a lot of international clients, and you have a lot of data, of private data, and of data of locations, and which are very sensible for the country. If you want to get the information to your data lake, for example, from your customer in China, is there any restriction from your side, or how you can use the data, the international customers, in your data lake?
Yeah, in our use cases, we need to consider all countries that are involved, and also the regulations, which can be different from country to country. So there, our colleagues, our legal colleagues, are checking these requirements or legal restrictions before we can collect the data. And then, as you mentioned, it is important to consider when data is copied across the borders. But we also need to consider that we are basically a group of companies. Even within our group, we need to consider if there is one part of our group located in China, whether it's allowed to give it to another part of the company, because it's officially the multiple companies in one group. So it's a big challenge for us always to consider these rules. So our legal advisors tell us sometimes also, okay, such a use case is not possible, or only under this and this limitation.
So okay, so I actually participate here in the or offline events, whereas you have questions. Yes.
I have one question. It's good to have the experts here. If you compare, I mean, Germany as well as China and the application of AI technology, we have just got the introduction of McVie, one of the leading company in this field, right? How do you see the competitiveness of German companies in this field?
Maybe Annika and Fabian, your views.
Competitiveness regarding the developments in this area, or what are you referring?
Good question.
Is there a lot of competition?
If you look at certain industries such as telecommunication, mobile phones, where Germany was also strong, Germany is a country of innovators, right? So innovation, but sometimes they're also missing the trend. So my question basically is also what was mentioned earlier, due to these legal restrictions, which might also have an impact on the competitiveness, future competitiveness. How do you see this also compared to Chinese companies such as McVie?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Basically, are there more hurdles that we will have to take in Germany compared to China due to regulations? Yeah. Did I get it right? Yeah. I think that is the point. That is happening. There's always some regulations that we have to follow, especially regarding personal data. If we're talking about the logistics industry, personal data of employees, those have to be protected. And I think it sometimes makes it harder to get data regarding AI that we need for AI applications. But at the same time, it's positive that we do think about the personal data and of protecting it for everyone. And that's my personal view.
Thanks. I would also agree that when you first need to check all the legal restrictions before you can start a use case, it makes you slower. So also in a competition, it might be a disadvantage to have more restrictions. On the other side, what I see is also that there is a trend in the society to get more explainable AI. So when people are asking more about why is an application doing this and that is taking a decision, it's also good to have some regulations already pushing the companies to work on these ethical questions, for example, explainability. So there, it can be also an advantage to consider such issues early already.
Maybe adding on that point, from my perspective, I've seen throughout the news, throughout the last months, that this development is also becoming stronger and stronger in China, that data privacy became a huge topic there due to new laws, but also due to fines Chinese companies had to pay recently. Would you agree there, Liangjun?
Yes, but it's, I think, in the process, and because all the new application field, and also we have to create new regulations for use of data, but the research, especially in the AI applications in the logistics, I think is a good field for us to go on. And today I can think we can learn from the speeches of three experts, and we can see that a lot of the big potential of AI applications in the logistics. And it's really, Annika has already pointed out at the beginning that the logistics and AI has really very strong common points, and we can use AI technology for logistics, especially in China. The companies are open for new technology, especially they are ready to try the news. So I think this is also the point for the Sino-German cooperation in the field. So we can cooperate and also to try some new technology, especially in the AI for the customers, and to prove it. That's, I think, especially for the applications, the first application that China is a very suitable place for new things, for new applications. And the German enterprise always think or consider a little bit longer, but finally they will use the technology for their advantages. I think that's very important for such kind of discussions, such kind of discussion, and also joint communications.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are actually almost already a little bit over time. So let's maybe close with two questions, maybe one from the chat and one from the offline event. So there's one just coming in the chat, and it's going to Megvi, like how you see yourself to Geek, who is already present in Europe in the space of intralogistics. I don't know whether I pronounced Geek correctly or Geek Plus.
Okay, sorry, could you please repeat the question? How do we compare with Geek Plus or what?
With Geek Plus, like Geek Plus seems to be already in Europe, maybe whether there are already plans on your side of coming to Europe as well.
Yeah, so I'm not very clear about the question. Geek Plus is in Europe, so what's about Megvi? Does Megvi have the plan go to Europe or what?
Yeah, if Megvi maybe also is, I think your footprint is now very strong in China, or are you already present in Europe, and are there further plans of moving there as well?
Okay, I understand now. Okay, so Megvi, we also have the plan, the strategy to go abroad, and now we have the company in Japan, and we are doing very well in Japan. We already sell around, I think, 20 projects running in Japan for our AMLs, and also have project in Singapore, but in Europe, and due to the reason of the pandemic, and we are not that quick. I think in the very future we should go there, and we are trying to find partners in Europe, and if there are some good partners online or some good partners are interested with MACV, and please contact with us. Okay. Thank you.
Great. So now the final question from our expert. So in the downside, whether you have questions for the expert. So one question. Maybe you come to the stage, and we have the final question. We have the lady.
Yeah, this is Helen. I'm very curious on the open multi-cloud platform. Can you give us an example of application in multi-field? How to achieve the successful collaboration? In China now, we have the most common cloud is like enterprise private cloud and Ali cloud, Baidu cloud, and also some companies applies Microsoft cloud. So that's my question. Yeah, give us example of application in more details. Thank you. Can you hear me clearly? Yeah.
The question was about what applications are there in the cloud already, and which kind of cloud providers are used. Is this correct?
Mostly, yeah.
Fabian?
Yes, so for us, we are working mainly with the cloud from Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud. And yes, applications are already live and running there. And so, like I explained before, it is always a closed connection to our internal setup, so that we have our internal servers and also then these cloud set up to have this hybrid platform.
Yeah.
Great.
For us, sorry.
Go ahead.
For us, it usually depends on what our client uses, and for Fraunhofer IML, I mean, for data transfer, we do have our own clouds, and yeah, other than that, we usually work with what the client works with.
Great. So before I now close, there's been a relevant question in the end coming in. How the participants could connect to you? Are you on LinkedIn or any other way how people could reach out to you?
Question to me. Yes, I have LinkedIn, and I will share my mailbox to you. Okay.
Okay, great. There will be like a follow-up email, and we can also put your contact, e.g. on LinkedIn there. This is the same hold true for you, Fabian and Annika?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So then I want to thank all of you, specifically the three speakers, which really gave us diverse input and diverse viewpoints on AI applications in the logistics and supply chain industry. So thanks, Annika, thanks, Magic, thanks, Fabian. It was really a pleasure having you. So this is now a virtual handover of thank you or chocolate or something like this. In these days, nothing else possible, unfortunately. And also I want to thank the members of ALUROUT, the China Network Baden-Württemberg, and GCAAI, who supported the organization of the event. Yanjun, thanks for co-moderation. And also, I want to thank Lawrence and the Know-How AG for the support in the technical setup. So let's keep in touch and see how AI will change the way the logistics industry is run in the future.
Thank you, Stefan, for your great effort and for the great success of this joint conference. And we will go on with our offline event right now. And we say goodbye to the online participants and thank you. And thank you to Germany.
Have a nice afternoon.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Yeah.